Let's proceed to Module 2. This is about respecting differences. The goal is to introduce participants to the importance of respecting differences when working with others and when providing care to clients. Within every group, there are similarities and differences among individuals. Some of the differences are race, class, language, age, sexuality, religion, culture, abilities, etc. And some of these similarities and differences are obvious, others are not. The differences are often referred as diversity. It is important to talk about differences and diversity in this training because caregivers or participants will come in contact with many people, some of whom will have significant differences and some of whom will only appear to be different. We all make assumptions about similarities and differences based on the initial information we get about a person. Participants or caregivers, you need to learn to move beyond assumptions. You have to listen and respect the differences in order to work well with people. Note that everyone has had experiences with people making assumptions about them based on how they look or how they talk or where they come from. However, each person has a unique life story, including each client and each caregiver. Valuing the uniqueness of each individual will provide a foundation for a caring relationship between the caregiver and the client. Culture describes the traditions and beliefs passed on through families, communities, and heritage. Most people don't really think of their background as culture because it is what they grew up with and what they are familiar with. So, culture is the collection of traditions and beliefs that are part of your family or your community. Culture includes how people feel about the family, how elders are treated, and how children are raised. Beliefs about food, healthcare, and religion are also part of culture. Your cultural traditions and beliefs probably affect how you think of yourself, and they can also affect how others see you. Learning more about a client, especially talking directly to them, allows the caregiver to check his or her assumptions and to hear more of the whole story from that person's perspective. Then the caregiver can start building a relationship based on what the client and who the client is rather than on assumptions and stereotypes. Listening to client's story may be useful in understanding and being able to work with personal differences. Some of these differences may be due to culture, for example, the role of the family, and other stuff that the caregiver has to consider. So again, when you meet a client for the first time, you will learn part of that person's story. This will help you to understand his or her culture. However, each person is unique. It is important to learn more about the whole person Be curious, ask questions, and really listen to answers. When you tell your story, you will know how it feels when others really listen and hear you. Clients will feel the same way when you listen to them and hear their stories. Sometimes your community can be a place where you live now or where you grew up. But sometimes your community is a group of people that you feel accepted and at home even if they live far away. So in this module, we want you to answer this worksheet that entitles Tell Your Story. This is now your story. So what is your culture? What beliefs and traditions affected you most as you grew up? How does your culture affect the way you live your life now? So how is your culture different from other cultures that you come in contact with? How do you think these differences might affect your work? And with your strengths, in what ways has your culture made you a better person? How can these strengths help you to do your job better?